Welcome back. Today I will be building a vivarium for red-eyed Croc Skinks. We were going to be using a Zoomed 18-18-18 terrarium with a front opening door, which is kind of cool. Let's just wrap this up. And what I like doing vivariums, I pretty much want to get as many products as possible. I may or may not use all of them, but you don't want to get through like a really nice setup and run out of products. So in the background right here, I got multiple plants, dishes, soils that we will be using to hook this tank up today. It comes with a nice little paper background, which I'm going to remove just because with the vivarium you're going to be spraying lots of water into it, and over time it will break down and not look as good. Okay, and whether or not you're going to have a product inside the cage that's going to need electricity, in the back there is a couple of notches that are cut out, and those are specifically designed to have a cord actually run through. In this particular setup we will not be using that, but it is definitely available to you. So if we're not using a cord, we are then going to place these two black clips in these little slots right here, and that's going to close up those gaps so you don't have a small animal get out on you. So very simple, very easy to apply.
That keeps the crickets in too, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah, that'll keep your crickets in. If you're feeding lots of crickets, they will sometimes climb up the back and out the little slot. So those two clips, easy to snap in there, and they work perfectly to keep bugs and other critters inside your cage. Moving right along, we are going to throw in our first layer, which is the drainage layer right here. So depending on what you're really going for, you may need one bag or you may need two. In this setup I'll be only using one, that should be plenty. Alright, and then after you have your drainage layer down, we're going to add the polyfoam, which is going to basically keep all your soil from sifting directly down into your first layer there. We're going to cut this up a little bit. It's actually thick enough to pull in half, and then we can kind of use half and half. Voila! Alright. So now that we got that down at the bottom, it is now time to add soils, bedding, different types of bedding, mosses or whatnot. I will be using cypress mulch, which holds a lot of good humidity. That's a real popular bedding with reptiles and amphibians, along with jungle bed, which is more of like a coconut fiber, and this is just gonna give it a different texture, a different feel, so it's not all one bedding. And it works good for soils. These two combined when adding live plants really helps the roots kind of attach and grab a hold of different substrates. So I'm going to just go ahead and... Alright, now that we got our bedding mixed in all at the bottom, we're going to start building up from there. What I like to do is now I like to position the plants and kind of get a feel of how I'm actually going to lay this out and put it all together. I'm using the Zoomed cork rounds. I'm actually going to be using these as an actual planter box. I'm going to fill them with soil and add a plant in there. But first I got to get a feel for what looks good where. And the best way to do it, a lot of times people are, they take too much time and, putting one in there and taking it out. I just like to kind of go right at it, and then everything kind of falls together nicely. First off is this small ficus. It's going to be, pretty much the largest plant in there, so we got to get that in there first. And I think in the back corner it will accent real nice. And since it just came out of the pot, you're definitely going to want to break the soil up a little bit and have the roots go directly into the soil, and they'll start attaching themselves to the soil that we just put in there. And that fits and looks quite nicely there.
Okay.
And next I'm going to use this cork flat as somewhat of a barrier or a step to kind of go with the height of the cage. So I'm going to wedge that right in there, and then I'm going to fill it in with soil and place another plant. A little bit of that. A little bit of that. A little salt and pepper, and then it's all ready to rock and roll. For this one, we're gonna see what this looks like, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna look good. Slap that out. Give yourself somewhat of a pilot hole to place the potted plant in, and then again break the roots up a little bit so they start to go down and do their natural thing. So that's in there. It's not in there 100%, but as we build around it, it will start to get molded into it and come together real nicely. And then let's go with Zoomed's cork hollows. Again, we're going to try to use the height of the cage, so I'm going to fill that with bedding and place a small tropical plant in there. I like to use the base, the cypress, because it's going to let the roots really get a hold of something and attach itself a little easier in there. And since this is for the red-eyed Croc Skink, we're gonna, and they're a shy lizard or a skink, we're gonna try to give them more hiding spots as possible, because he is gonna like to duck away and hide out. So again, this little step here, it doesn't all the way have to be filled up, so he can kind of creep back there. We're gonna add more moss, and it's gonna come along real nicely. Let's try this one here. That should fit in there perfectly. Which it does, and again, it's very easy to move that, but as we build around it, it's gonna become one with this whole terrarium. He is gonna need a water bowl, so you gotta always give yourself plenty of playing room. So I'm gonna figure out that might be the best spot for his water bowl, but it might change. So keep in mind you need that little area for water bowls. So don't get too crazy and start building around it and then not have enough room. And then this plant will actually might look better there, so we might have to move the water bowl somewhere else, which I'm gonna do now. Give yourself a little pilot hole. Break the soil up. This one is a real tough one, but it's a nice looking plant, so I definitely want to use it. Just like that. And then our water bowl is just going to have to kind of go right there. It'll probably nestle up to that plant real nice. That looks good. Get a good piece of wood. This one's a sandblasted. It's a large piece. Just because it's a little larger of a cage, I want to kind of fill the whole thing up. And again, use the height of the cage so you don't have like an empty gap in there. You want it to be lush and full. So that's probably going to fit nicely right there. Alright, now I'm going to add some live moss. What I'm going to use here is the pillow moss. What I like to do is soak it in a small container ahead of time in some water just to freshen it up, let it absorb water to kind of kickstart it. You'll notice it turns really bright green after it's soaked up ample amounts of water. So I'm going to place these in here, random little spots, just to give it more of a natural look like in nature. One looks good there. Bump it up against a tree. And all this is dry right now, but after we're done, we're definitely going to wet it down so everything is thoroughly watered. The plants allows the roots to kind of start to take and go down with the water. We'll also be adding more of a loose moss, and this is going to help him, give him multiple hiding spots. He can hide underneath that, he can kind of dip away underneath the foliage, and that's just another moss you can add. There's also sphagnum moss, which is going to give you a different look. It's more lighter, like a white in color, which works perfectly too. Just in this setup, we won't be using that. We'll be using the green sphagnum and the green pillow moss. So this is kind of actually coming together nicely now. There wasn't a whole lot of preparation involved. It's just, you really just start going and then adding to it. Now I'm going to add, actually this, another cork hollow. This is going to be another hide for our little guy, and we're going to nestle that right in the back here. And that's going to hold your ledge in place as well. Kind of give him like a little peekaboo hiding log. Now after the moss is in place, we kind of got a feel of what our vivarium is going to look like. I like to add just some pebbles. It's going to accent your cage, give it a more natural look. I kind of like just drop them in there as if, you know, they fell in nature off like say a slope or whatnot, and then fill in the holes between the moss, and it kind of gives it a really cool look. Anywhere where you see just bare bedding, try to fill it in so to kind of make the whole vivarium come together that much more. And let's slice this bag open and add some different kind of moss to give it that different look. It's real lightweight, it's real fluffy. So we're just gonna kind of cram these in little crevices, just to accent the vivarium a little more. Like this piece of wood actually has small little pockets where you can actually kind of fill it in to make it look as if it's growing off the branch it's naturally.
A nice part about that too for something like a red-eyed croc skink is that you can get this little bits of moss here wet, and then as it dries out in the cage, it'll help add humidity, because for a red-eyed croc skink, they do like it pretty humid. They do like it pretty moist. They're from the northern, a lot of the ones that you see in captivity are from the northern tip of New Guinea / New Zealand. They're from the Indonesian part of those islands. So they do like it really humid. So you're definitely going to want to make sure, that's why Joe is using so much moss here in the cage, because humidity is really, really important for these guys.
Now that looks pretty good, and it's definitely coming along nicely. Now the best step is to add water and then go on to our lighting.
So basically the way that this cage is set up, it's going to be perfect for a little red-eyed croc skink. What we'll end up doing with the lights is providing a heated area closer to the back here. And then up front it'll be a little bit cooler because that's where the water bowl is. Because red-eyed croc skinks are from and actually a cooler region of Indonesia / New Guinea, they actually like it fairly cool, so you don't have to worry about nighttime heating as long as as long as your home stays in the mid to high 60s at night. So right now here in Southern California, it's getting to be summer. In many Southern California homes, which are going to average 80 degrees in the summer, you don't need to provide any additional heating if you're in the further north, or if your home is cooler than that due to air conditioning. A low wattage heat bulb will probably be a good idea, because the warmest they really need it is about 80 to 82. So Joe's got his water ready here.
Alright, just using a standard pressure sprayer, and we really want to get, especially where the plants, you just planted them, really soak that down so they can start rooting into the soil that you just put in there. Spraying everything. You can even add a glass of water, or you could just literally just pour it directly over the potted plants that you just placed in there. But you really want to get this thing wet to get everything going. But I definitely think a red-eyed croc skink is going to really dig his new habitat here. And all these products you can find on our website at www.LLLReptile.com. I mean, it even smells like nature in here. It looks like I took a piece of nature and put it in a terrarium. So that should be sufficient for now. Keep in mind, you're going to probably want to, if you just set one up, you'll probably want to water it the next couple of days, just to make sure you're not getting dry pockets in your soil, which could cause stress on your plants. If they hit that, they might not be growing to their full potential. So that looks pretty nice. It's clean cut. It looks good. cool part about these vivariums is even if you didn't have an animal to put in there, it really looks nice, and you can set it in your office or classroom, in your room. It just looks really nice, really accents the place. So this will close up nicely. The back where we did add those clips, that of course is the back, so that will slide in real easily. It snaps shut, front opening. So I mean, it's going to be really good. Definitely, the animal's definitely going to dig that. And for the fixture, we're going to be using the Zoomed terrarium hood. It's an 18-inch hood. It's actually designed to fit right on top of this cage. It's real clean cut. It's sleek. It's not. A lot of people are, you know, they go off on the fixtures because they look kind of somewhat bulky. This one does not. It looks really nice. Definitely got reflectors in there to give you more light output. This fixture, one is going to be for your heat source, which is going to be right here, and then the other will be for your UVB bulb, either at 13 or at 26 watt, depending on the animal or situation, in which today we're going to be using a 5.0, but it also works well with 10.0 or 2.0 UVB bulbs. Both have a separate on-off switch on the back. So one could be used for a night bulb or a day bulb, and they don't both have to be on at the same time, so keep that in mind. So we'll just set this up real quick. And the UVB bulb that we're going to be using today is the Zoomed 5.0. It's for more of a tropical animals versus the 10.0, which you'd use for more of a desert animal, such as like a sulcata. So that'll be in one of our sides right here. Easy, standard screw in. And the other side is going to be for our heat source, which we're going to be using a 40 watt. With this particular animal, they don't need so much heat. You don't want to have basking spots of 90 plus, and we're in Southern California, so it is getting pretty warm right now. So the 40 watt should be sufficient in this case. So there we go. Both of them are on there. Depending on the look and the feel, you can have your fixture all the way to the front, or you can have it leaning more towards the back. We're going to keep it on the back just to give it more of a hot side on the rear of the tank and a cooler towards the water bowl right here. So this is your vivarium. Fairly easy and simple to throw together. You just kind of gotta grab all your supplies and, you know, jump into it. All right, now it's time to throw your animal in there, and today we are putting red-eyed Croc Skinks in there. Cute little pair here. So let them live their lives happily together in here.
Right now what they're doing is freezing, which is a common thing that red-eyed Croc Skinks will do when they feel threatened. And considering we're the size of Godzilla compared to them, it's pretty natural that they'd freeze. I don't know if you've seen how huge Joe is.
Flex a little bit.
But these little guys here are definitely a lot smaller. Because they do freeze when they get scared, it's an indication of stress. So if you handle them, try not to handle them too much. You want them to feed for you consistently. Overhandling is one of the primary causes of stress for these guys and can result in them having a shortened lifespan. There we go. It looks like he's about ready to bolt into a hiding spot there. Yep, there he goes. There you have it. That is Joe's really fantastic living vivarium for a red-eyed Croc Skink. If you want to set up your skinks in the best possible habitat, that's pretty much how you do it. For everything you see in this terrarium, you can go ahead and visit our website at www.LLLReptile.com, and for articles about care of reptiles such as red-eyed Croc Skinks and other reptiles and amphibians, you can always sign up for our online magazine, which is The Reptile Times. You can sign up by visiting the website at www.thereptiletimes.com. And there you have it, a red-eyed Croc Skink setup.